Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely fascinating ancient text, 2 Chronicles chapter 12, to answer a pretty strange question. Why do we so often lose our spiritual foundations the exact moment we finally feel secure? We're going to uncover a profound and honestly deeply challenging lesson about the true anatomy of a spiritual crisis and the real meaning of humility. It's a story from antiquity, but as you'll see, human nature hasn't changed all that much.
To start us off, the text points us to a really striking paradox. It says, when the rule of Rehoboam was established and he was strong, he abandoned the law of the Lord. Notice the crazy juxtaposition there between strength and abandonment. The very moment this king reached peak power, stability, and comfort, he let go of his spiritual foundations. He didn't lose his faith when he was weak or struggling. He literally lost it when he finally felt secure.
Section 1. Rehoboam's Strength and Fall.
So, let's explore exactly how this happened. The text reveals a sobering reality about human tendency. Step 1. Rehoboam and his people spent 3 solid years engaging in faithful worship and strengthening their kingdom. They were doing everything right. Because of that, Step 2 shows they achieved incredible national stability and power. But then, almost like clockwork, Step 3 hits. They suddenly abandon the divine law and lead the entire nation astray. Think about how fast we ditch our New Year's resolutions, right? Well, 3 years into doing everything perfectly, they just got comfortable. The onset of comfort ironically became the exact trigger for the king to completely walk away from his spiritual principles. When things got easy, they let their guard down.
Section 2. The overwhelming Egyptian invasion. Now, this sudden abandonment didn't just happen in a vacuum. By his 5th year, it brought on a terrifying external threat. Just look at the sheer scale of the invading Egyptian king Shishak's army. We're talking 1,200 chariots, which are basically the ancient equivalent of modern tanks, along with 60,000 horsemen and countless allied troops from Libya, Sukkium, and Kush. To put that into perspective for the ancient world, these numbers represent the absolute maximum military might imaginable. This wasn't just a tough battle. This was an extinction-level event for Judah, a crisis completely impossible to overcome by human strength alone.
Section 3. The real cause of the crisis.
So, why did this massive, unpreventable invasion actually happen in the first place? This is where we get to do a bit of textual detective work. We actually have 2 historical accounts of this event in the Bible, and comparing them is brilliant. 1 Kings 14 acts like a straightforward news report focusing purely on the result. Shishak invaded and looted the temple treasures. But 2 Chronicles 12 hits the pause button. It dives beneath the surface to reveal the hidden, spiritual cause by introducing a prophet named Shemaiah.
Through Shemaiah, God delivers this devastating, one-sentence diagnostic message. You have abandoned me, so I have abandoned you to the hand of Shishak. Wow, that completely shifts the narrative, doesn't it? It shows that the root cause of this massive geopolitical crisis at their doorstep was actually an internal spiritual failure. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't a foreign policy disaster. It was a direct mirror to their own abandonment of their faith.
It's super easy to read this and judge them, but think about it. Human nature tends to instantly blame external circumstances when a crisis hits us. We look out the window and ask, why is this happening to me? Or who's to blame for this mess? But this text challenges us to look in the mirror instead. It dares us to consider whether the root of our hardships might actually lie within our own hardened actions and the choices we've made to drift away.
Section 4. Humility and the Divine Response.
So how do Rehoboam and his leaders pivot when faced with this terrifying revelation? Instead of complaining, making excuses, or crying, why me? They immediately demonstrate true humility. And the text defines humility in a very specific, profound way. It's the attitude of admitting that God is right and I am not. It means dropping your defenses, letting go of the desperate need to justify your own righteousness, and just acknowledging the absolute justice of the situation.
Notice how rapidly this whole cycle of divine discipline unfolds. In year 4, they abandon the law. In year 5, the external crisis strikes. That very same year, they realize their sin and express true humility. But look closely at the result. Their humility leads to a response from God, but it isn't total victory. It's a very specific, partial deliverance. God halts the total destruction of Jerusalem, but he doesn't just wave a magic wand and make the invading army disappear.
So why just a partial deliverance? Well, the purpose was intensely educational. Being subjugated to Egypt, even partially, was meant to be a visceral, physical training ground. God wanted them to directly experience in their everyday lives the heavy, exhausting cost of serving worldly empires compared to the absolute freedom of serving Him. It was a harsh lesson they literally had to feel in their bones.
Section 5. Beyond one-time repentance.
You'd think they'd learn their lesson forever, right? But here is the most sobering evaluation of Rehoboam's life, right at the end of the chapter. He did evil because he had not set his heart on seeking the Lord. That one sentence proves his earlier moment of submission, bowing down when the army was threatening him, just wasn't enough to secure a lasting spiritual legacy. He survived the crisis, but his heart hadn't fundamentally changed.
And this brings us to a vital distinction for our own lives today, contrasting two very different views of our spiritual posture. There's humility as an event, which is basically pressing an emergency button, a temporary, one-time reaction just to escape a painful crisis. And then there's humility as an attitude, which is a daily, continuous, conscious yielding of one's pride. Rehoboam treated humility like an event, but true humility, the kind that actually shapes a legacy, has to be an ongoing attitude.
Which leaves us with the absolute core takeaway from this entire analysis. The greatest danger we face is almost never the external Egyptian armies, the stressful events, the economic pressures, the outward hardships invading our lives. No, the ultimate threat is the quiet, internal hardening of our own prideful egos when we think we no longer need our foundations.
As we wrap up this explainer, we are left with a piercing, introspective question to challenge our daily habits. Do you only seek the Lord when hardship strikes? Are you treating humility as a crisis management tool, or is it the genuine daily posture of your life? It's a profound thought to chew on. Thanks for joining me, and I hope this dive into ancient history offers you a fresh, challenging perspective for your own life today.